Amateur Radio Service, Element 2, Technician Class Question Pool. These questions are valid July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2018. This lesson will be covering questions T1B05 through T1B09. T1B05. Which 70 centimeter frequency is authorized to a technician class license holder operating in ITU Region 2? Answers are A, 53.350 megahertz, B, 146.520 megahertz, C, 443.350 megahertz, or D, 222.520 megahertz. So let's return to our authorized frequency bands, Title 47, Part 97, 301. The question is specifically asking about technician class, so we're covered here. Here's the 70 centimeter band, and you can see the different ITU regions have different frequency ranges. But again, the question is specific to ITU Region 2, and you can see ITU Region 2 is 420 to 450 megahertz, making the answer to this question C, 443.350 megahertz. T1B06. Which 23 centimeter frequency is authorized to a technician class licensee? Answers are 2315 megahertz, 1296 megahertz, 3390 megahertz, 146.52 megahertz. And again, we turn to our authorized frequency bands, and we can see the 23 centimeter band covers primarily the 1240 through 1300 megahertz. And you'll also see that it is the same frequency range regardless of which ITU region you're in. So the range is 1240 through 1300 megahertz, which would make the answer to this question 1296 megahertz. T1B07. What amateur band are you using if you are transmitting on the 2 to 3.50 megahertz frequency? A is the 15 meter band, B is the 10 meter band, C is the 2 meter band, D is the 1.25 meter band. And again, we're going to look at our authorized frequencies. And we can see the 1.25 megahertz band covers 219 through 220 and 222 through 225 megahertz. We're looking at section A, which covers the amateur radio service, and it would be 222.225 megahertz, which would make the answer to this question D, 1.25 meter band. T1B08. Which of the following is a result of the fact that the amateur service is secondary in some portions of the 70 centimeter band? A. U.S. amateurs may find non-amateur stations in the bands and must avoid interfering with them. B is U.S. amateurs must give foreign amateur stations priority in those portions. C. International communications are not permitted on the 70 centimeter band. And D. Digital transmissions are not permitted on 70 centimeter. Let's go to 97.303 frequency sharing requirements. And we read here that each frequency band allocated to the amateur radio service is designed as either a secondary service or a primary service. A station in a secondary service must not cause harmful interference to and must accept interference from stations in a primary service. So here we look at B, amateur stations transmitting in the 70 centimeter band, the 33 centimeter band, the 23 centimeter band, the 9 centimeter band, and the 5 centimeter band, and 3 centimeter band, or the 2.24.05 through 24.25 gigahertz segment must not cause harmful interference to and must accept interference from stations authorized by the United States government in the radio allocation service. Making the answer to this question A, U.S. amateurs may find non-amateur stations in the bands and must avoid interfering. Keep in mind, government is not amateur. T1B09. Why should you not set your transmit frequency to be exactly at the edge of an amateur radio band or subband? A, to allow for calibration error in the transmitter frequency display. B, so that modulation sidebands do not extend beyond the edge of the band. C, to allow for transmitter frequency drift. Or D, all of these choices are correct. Now what I've put up here is the 20 meter band, and we're going to be talking about if you were to set your frequency on the radio to 14.350 exactly. So here's kind of a pictorial diagram of a AM station with upper and lower sideband. And if this frequency here was below 14.350 and this area is above 14.350, you can see that this entire segment, half of the AM carrier and all of the sideband, would be out of frequency. And here's a description of frequency drift. On a radio transmitter, frequency drift can cause a radio station to drift into an adjacent channel, causing illegal interference. Because of this, frequency allocation regulations specify the allowed tolerance for such oscillations in a type of accepted device. Which is going to make our answer to this question D. All of these choices are correct. Okay, so if you notice that last question, I did not address A in the reasons why you don't set your transmitter right on the edge of the frequency range. Now the primary reason, like I said, it's really easy to transmit above or below where you're supposed to be. But even if you took into account the size of the transmission envelope and made a small adjustment down or a small adjustment up so that the edges of the envelope were within the proper frequency range, most people don't have a lab quality frequency counter that they can adjust their radio to the point where it is exact. So always be off. Don't try to get right on that frequency edge. That's not good. Now, even the difference between the actual display on the radio and what the computer displays, I've got it hooked up here, is even slightly different. Over here, this is showing 1476.03, 14076.031. So how many digits do you want to go? So the bottom line is, make sure you don't set your transmit frequency right on the edge of the band, either the upper edge of the band or the lower edge of the band. Thank you for watching this video. References for this video are the U.S. Government Printing Office at http://www.ecfr.gov, dalkesser.com at http://tcastler.com, Integrated Publishing at http://Integrated Publishing at http://electriciantraining.tpub.com, and Wikipedia at https://www.wikipedia.org. And as always, please remember to subscribe.